A group of people sit around a table in Washington, D.C. They talk for 2 hours. Then one person speaks into a microphone. And within seconds, the entire world economy shifts. Stock markets in Tokyo crash. Currency values in London spike. Families in Kenya see their food prices double overnight. This isn't science fiction. This is the Federal Reserve. And here's what nobody tells you. The Fed has more power over the global order than the entire U.S. Navy. I know that sounds insane. The Navy has aircraft carriers, nuclear submarines, and a budget of $292 billion. But by the end of this video, you'll understand why money moves faster than missiles, and why interest rates are more powerful than aircraft carriers. Let's dive in. Most people have never heard of the Federal Reserve. If they have, they think it's just some boring government bank. But here's the truth. The Federal Reserve is the most powerful economic institution on planet Earth. Let me show you what real power looks like. The Navy's power. The U.S. Navy operates worldwide. It has 11 aircraft carriers. Each one costs $13 billion. It has nuclear submarines that can stay underwater for months. It protects international shipping lanes. It responds to global threats. It projects American military strength. The Navy's 2026 budget? $292 billion. Impressive, right? Now let me show you something that will blow your mind. The Federal Reserve controls a balance sheet worth $6.5 trillion. That's 22 times bigger than the Navy's entire annual budget. The Fed doesn't need aircraft carriers. It doesn't need missiles. It has something far more powerful: control over money itself. Here's how it works. When the Fed adjusts one number, the interest rate, everything changes. Your mortgage payment, your car loan, your job security, the price of food at your grocery store. But it doesn't stop at America's borders. The Fed's decisions ripple across 195 countries. They affect 8 billion people. Because the US dollar isn't just America's currency, it's the world's reserve currency. 59% of all global foreign reserves are held in US dollars. 70% of international trade is invoiced in dollars. When the Fed sneezes, the entire world catches a cold. Let me tell you 2 stories from 2024. Story 1. The Navy. The Navy deployed carrier strike groups to the South China Sea. They conducted freedom of navigation operations. They showed military might. Cost? Billions of dollars. Impact? Regional. Duration? Weeks. Story 2. The Fed. In 2024, the Fed raised interest rates aggressively to fight inflation. Cost to execute? $0. Just a vote. Impact? Global. Duration? Years. Here's what actually happened. When the Fed raised rates, the US dollar strengthened. Suddenly, every country that borrowed money in dollars faced a crisis. In Africa, currencies collapsed. Food prices doubled. Governments struggled to repay debts. In Japan, the yen plummeted so hard that their stock market crashed in July 2024. In Europe, the European Central Bank was forced to raise their rates too, even though they didn't want to, just to prevent their currency from collapsing. One decision by the Fed. Billions of people affected. The Navy can project power in one region at a time. The Fed projects power everywhere, all at once. Here's the fascinating part. Military power requires logistics. You need ships, fuel, personnel, and time. Economic power? Instantaneous. A Fed meeting ends at 2 p.m. By 2:01 p.m., algorithms are trading billions of dollars worldwide. By 2:30 p.m., central banks in 50 countries are having emergency meetings. The US dollar operates as a global network. Like the internet, touch one part and the whole system responds. The Navy operates in physical space, limited by distance and time. The Fed operates in digital space, limited by nothing. Let me break down the 3 invisible weapons the Fed uses. This is the Fed's nuclear button. When the Fed changes interest rates, it changes the cost of borrowing money everywhere. Lower rates? Money becomes cheap. People buy houses. Businesses expand. The economy grows. Higher rates? Money becomes expensive. Spending stops. Businesses cut jobs. Recessions begin. In 2020, the Fed dropped rates to nearly 0 during COVID. Result? The stock market soared. Housing prices exploded. People got jobs. In 2022-2024, the Fed raised rates to 5.5% to fight inflation. Result? Mortgage rates hit 8%. Car loans became unaffordable. Companies started layoffs. One lever, trillions of dollars in impact. Weapon 2, the balance sheet. The Fed can create money out of thin air. No joke. It's called quantitative easing. During the 2008 financial crisis and 2020 COVID pandemic, the Fed bought trillions in bonds and securities. They grew their balance sheet from $900 billion in 2007 to $8.9 trillion by 2022. That's not taxpayer money. That's newly created money. They injected it into the financial system. Banks got liquid. Markets stabilized. The Navy can't do this. The Pentagon can't do this. Only the Fed has this power. Here's the ultimate weapon. Every country needs dollars. Want to buy oil? You need dollars. Want to trade internationally? You need dollars. Want to protect your country's savings? You buy U.S. Treasury bonds. This gives the Fed unbelievable leverage. When emerging markets like Kenya or Indonesia borrow in dollars, they're at the Fed's mercy. If the Fed raises rates, their debt becomes more expensive. If the dollar strengthens, they can't repay loans. The Fed doesn't need to fire a single shot. It just adjusts rates, and entire economies crumble. The current power struggle right now, in 2025, something unprecedented is happening. The Fed is under attack, not from foreign enemies, from within. President Trump has publicly attacked Fed Chair Jerome Powell, demanding lower interest rates. In 2025, Trump even fired Fed Governor Lisa Cook over alleged irregularities. Why does this matter? Because the Fed's power depends on one thing: independence. If politicians control the Fed, its credibility collapses, markets panic. Inflation spirals. History proves this. Every country where politicians controlled the central bank experienced economic disasters. Meanwhile, China is watching. They're building their own system, trying to make the yuan a reserve currency. But here's the reality. The yuan represents only 4.3% of global payments. The dollar? 47%. China needs the Fed's system more than they want to admit. Russia tried to escape dollar dominance after sanctions. They couldn't. The Fed's network is too powerful, too embedded, too essential. The real threat isn't military. Military analysts worry about aircraft carriers and hypersonic missiles. But the real threat to American power isn't military defeat. It's loss of dollar dominance. If the world stops using dollars, the Fed's power evaporates. America's ability to print money and finance deficits disappears. This is why protecting the Fed's independence is national security priority number one. More important than any weapons system, accountability versus power? Here's where things get uncomfortable. The Navy answers to Congress, to the president, to voters. The Fed? Not really. The Fed is independent. Fed governors serve 14-year terms. They can't be fired for policy disagreements. This creates a paradox. The most powerful institution in America is the least democratic. 7 unelected people decide whether you can afford a house, whether your business survives, whether you keep your job. Is this good or bad? The case for independence. Here's why it might be necessary. Politicians think short-term. Elections happen every 2-4 years. They want low interest rates before elections. Keep people happy. Win votes. But this creates inflation. It destroys economic stability. An independent Fed can make unpopular decisions. Raise rates when needed. Prevent boom-bust cycles. Former Fed Chairman Ben Bernanke explained it perfectly. Political interference in monetary policy creates unsustainable booms that lead to worse economy. The evidence backs this up. Countries with independent central banks have lower inflation, more stable growth, better long-term prosperity. The case against, but here's the other side. When the Fed makes mistakes, nobody can stop them. In 2008, Fed policies contributed to the housing bubble. 2021, they kept rates too low, too long, fueling massive inflation. Who paid the price? Ordinary people. Who faced consequences? Nobody. The Fed operates in a gray zone. Powerful but unaccountable. This makes some people deeply uncomfortable what's coming. As we head into 2026, the Fed faces its biggest challenges yet. Challenge 1. Political pressure is intensifying. Trump's administration wants more control. Challenge 2. Global competition is rising. China, Europe, and others want alternatives to dollar dominance. Challenge 3. Technology is disrupting everything. Cryptocurrencies, digital currencies, new payment systems. The question isn't whether the Fed will remain powerful. The question is, can it maintain its independence? The prediction. Here's what experts believe will happen. The Fed will likely get a new chairman in 2026, someone more aligned with political goals. This could mean lower rates, more money printing, short-term economic boosts. But it also means long-term risks, higher inflation, loss of credibility, market instability. Meanwhile, the Navy will keep building ships, conducting operations, protecting sea lanes. But the real battles of the 21st century won't be fought with aircraft carriers. They'll be fought with interest rates, currency swaps, and balance sheets. The bottom line, the U.S. Navy can destroy cities, the Federal Reserve can destroy economies. The Navy operates in the physical world. The Fed operates in the financial world. In 2026, financial power trumps military power. Why? Because money is global, instantaneous, unavoidable. You can avoid a war zone. You can't avoid inflation. You can hide from missiles. You can't hide from interest rates. The Federal Reserve doesn't wear uniforms, it doesn't fly flags, but make no mistake, it runs an underground empire that touches every human on Earth. Final recap. What we learned. 1. The Fed controls $6.5 trillion, 22 times the Navy's annual budget. 2. Fed decisions affect 8 billion people instantly through the global dollar network. 3. The Fed's three weapons are interest rates, money creation, and dollar dominance. 4. Fed independence is America's real national security issue. 5. The 2026 political battle over Fed control will determine global economic stability for decades. The Navy protects America's physical borders. The Fed protects America's economic empire. One uses steel. One uses money. But in 2026, money is the ultimate weapon. Okay, that is it for today. I hope you liked this video. If you did, give us a like and share it with those who wants to know the role of Fed in USA. Catch you in next one.